Welcome to episode 89 of Nintendo Therapy, a show about the latest Nintendo news and rumors, as well as a celebration of all of the things Nintendo. My name is Kevin, and joining me this week on a checkered grid to talk about Echoes of Wisdom, Cars of the Future, and Snakes of the NES is Harrison.
Hey, welcome back. I'm happy to be here.
Yeah, it's been a Zelda heavy week again. Have you been playing around with Echoes of Wisdom this week? Did you get some time to put some hours in?
I I put in a lot more hours than I had anticipated.
Nice.
Honestly, like I haven't been wanting to play other games the past few days. Um, just been wanting to commit my time to this. So, I mean, overall first impression today is that I'm having a blast with it, and I'm enjoying it a lot more than I anticipated. Even though I was really excited about it, I felt like my expectations were correct, but it's been exceeding expectations for me. How about you?
Yeah, I purposely avoided watching any reviews or listening to any other podcasts about it until we could talk about it this week. Because last week I had only played it for like an hour, but now I'd actually sank some actual decent amount of hours in, and yeah, I'm just I love being in this world. You know what I mean? Like it's a very puzzle heavy game, but at the same time I think the world building is just I know from back when it was the Link's Awakening version of this world, there were some people out there that weren't too keen on this art style, but I think if you did like the Link's Awakening world, this gives you so much more of it to explore, and it's just so fun to be in it. I don't know, like I find myself just like admiring the environment a lot.
Yeah. Where's my Link to the Past connection coming up? Because for some, I can't put my finger on it, but for some reason, when I play this game, I'm just thinking about Link to the Past. Are
Well,
you
a lot
feeling
of
that connection also?
yeah, a lot of points on the map definitely have like references to areas on the Link to the Past map as well. Like there are dungeons that like look like that's where that dungeon would be and it's all crumbled. You know what I mean? Like you can't go in it in
Right.
this game, but you're like I can tell that that's the spot where that dungeon was type of thing. Um and there's definitely they're definitely trying to say that this is the same world. Um, it's an altered map, just like A Link Between Worlds was. A Link Between Worlds was a little bit more closely using the same map, but yeah, they're definitely trying to make this the same world, and there's definitely references all over the place to A Link to the Past, geography wise.
Right. Do you ever feel like you have this huge advantage being Zelda brained playing this game? Like you see like a boulder like in a rock wall, you're like, oh, drop a bomb. Or you see like a big metal door and you're like, oh, bind,
I actually
open
I
it up.
said this before. I felt that the most when I played A Link Between Worlds because I remember being somewhat disappointed in that game my first time through because I was able to collect every single heart piece and basically 100% the game without ever getting stuck once. And I think that was because I had just come off like playing like every Zelda game in a row, anticipating it. And like you just said, I was very Zelda brained, so I was very attuned to how the Zelda developers think when I played that game, and it it, it's something where I've appreciated that game more in subsequent playthroughs because my first time through I just aced it because I was so Zelda brained at the time. Um and here I think because Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom were so different, I'm not feeling that. and I'm actually getting stuck on a lot of puzzles to the point where I'm like, are kids able to solve this? Because I'm feeling kind of dumb right now that I can't solve this puzzle. So with Echoes of Wisdom, it's not a thing.
Right. There was only one part I've been stuck on, and I've played about 12 hours so far. I'm quite
I've
surprised.
definitely used the map markers to be like, I'm gonna have to come back to this. Maybe I'll gain an ability because I can't figure it out right now.
I've been impressed that the game's been intuitive enough that it feels like I'm exploring on my own, but I'm never getting stuck to a point where it's like I don't have the right echo I need to solve this puzzle. So I'm very happy that I'm not getting stuck anywhere. Oh, I did get stuck between a rift and a cliff. Um, I had to reset my game. Um,
Huh.
like I got stuck like in like the northeast corner of the map, and I could not get out. Everything like I couldn't activate an echo because it would just disappear. And I was like, did Nintendo discover this? Because like for me, I'm trying to see like where the walls are. I'm trying to see like where I can't go in the game.
Hmm.
Like I'm trying to see like if there's an out of bounds area. And there's just times where it's like trim and show, like you just hit an invisible wall and you can't go any further. But yeah, I legit um got got stuck. But there was one dungeon or cave in the Zora Cove or whatever where I got stuck for like 10 minutes, and then I had to go to work, so I was like, ah, whatever, like save the game. And once I opened the game up again, it's so weird. It took me like 20 seconds, maybe. Like as soon as I opened the game the second time, it was like, oh, I know what to do. It was almost like I was using the back burner and trying to get my mind away from it. And I always think about like the way our brain patterns function when playing games. Like if you've ever like made a mistake in a game you've never made, but then you make it over and over again, and you start thinking like, why am I doing that? Just that
Hmm.
example.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think puzzles have been lots of fun. I would say the overall difficulty, like I'm very happy they're giving us two difficulties in the beginning, but the hard difficulty is pretty easy. Um, yeah. Do you have any other feelings about combat or anything now that you've played more?
Yeah, I mean, I've got a lot of thoughts on the combat. I like that when you turn into the Link version of Zelda with the sword, um, you're not as limited as I thought. Like I thought the timer was going to be a real hindrance to that, and you get it replenished plenty, and it really isn't something where you're ever. I haven't hit a situation yet where I needed to use it and I couldn't. So I like that. Maybe I'm just rationing it properly, but I like that. And uh, as far as like generating the echoes, that's like the only thing that I think is could be improved on this game. Is you get so many that they're. I wish there was a way to like set favorites or something. Like, have five that you tag, because in every area you're pretty much cycling between five, and you can get around that by just using those five and then setting the echoes to be your most recent used. But yeah, it does get to be a long list. But I also love that it's a long list because this is basically like a Pokemon meets Zelda, is a thought I had while I was playing. You got to catch them all type of thing. And even down to the point where like the people in the towns will like ask to see certain echoes and stuff like that. So it very much reminds me of if you combine Zelda and Pokemon at times.
You hit on two good points. First, that's my only big criticism, and that's actually it's not even for me a big criticism, but it is something that I've been seeing around a lot as I've been mostly avoiding reviews of the game. Um, I I put in the notes I have about 40 echoes. That is a lie. I just went into the game and looked. I have 86. I have 86 echoes.
Oh, well,
So
I don't know how many I have, but yeah, there's definitely a lot in the game.
and there is 126 in the game, or 129, 120 something in the game.
Okay.
Um,
So
so
almost Pokemon level.
right up until yesterday, I was fine. Yesterday, I finally reached a point where I was like, it's taking me 30 seconds to go from the front of this list to the back of this list. And of course, they do give you options to sort by last used, last obtained, whatever, alphabetical maybe. Um, but it would be super easy for them to just create categories because there's no reason why we couldn't scroll up and down as well as left and right.
Mm-hmm.
It's just a very interesting design choice because Nintendo tested this game a lot, I'm sure, and like how did it never come up that like we're having the same fundamental Tears of the Kingdom problem with this game. With that being said, that's like my only criticism, and it's like it's minor for me. It's like a minor like I don't like this. It could be better. I don't understand it, but I think I would replay this game no problem because I'm having a lot of fun with it.
I know
With
I'm not
Yeah,
trying to bash on Tears of the Kingdom, but I know I will replay this before I replay Tears of the Kingdom.
yeah, yeah, for sure. Well, they I think Nintendo nailed the pacing of this game. I
Hmm.
like. I mean, I haven't reached any point where it feels like Nintendo being Nintendo. So I'll say up to this point, I think they nailed the pacing of it. Like for me, like I want a game that has a story, but I want to be in the game within the first few minutes. And I know that the opening sequence of Echoes of Wisdom is not that long. And you're
Hmm.
doing combat right from the very beginning. So
Yeah, and
I do think
I think it's
yeah,
also to that point the perfect balance of like, oh, I can explore and unlock parts of the map and check out new areas and um when I'm done with that, go to the next story as well.
right. Right. I've been mostly avoiding the main story as much as possible. Um in honor of it being kind of like a Breath of the Wild Tears of the Kingdom game. As much as I can, I've been trying to see the entire map. I'm at about I would say 90% because I discovered almost the last area last night. Um, so that's been really fun. I've had a sense of discovery this entire time, which is what is the most important. I think you bring up a great point with Pokemon, and it's probably too crazy of an idea for Nintendo to do it. But Nintendo, if you're listening, the timelines don't really matter too much, and the story doesn't matter really too much. You could give us a Zelda Pokemon game if you wanted to,
Yeah.
and it would be weird. It'd be weird, but ever since Breath of the Wild came out, I've been asking for a Pokemon game that was similar to Breath of the Wild. Or or I'd be okay with like a top-down auto battler, because I do like the echoes, but the idea of having more of a relationship with your echoes does sound extremely appealing. So,
Yeah, I think I almost like just on my own uh feel feel like a probably because of playing Pokemon, I do feel kind of a bond with the Echoes where I do feel bad when they get defeated, even though I can just summon another one. In my mind, I'm summoning the same one. I'm not summoning like a new form of that Echo, as weird as that sounds.
Sure.
And it I don't know. You're right though. I feel like this is a good balance between all the things. Like it's a good balance. You got your Breath of the Wild in there. You got your A Link to the Past in there. You got your Pokemon. You throw all three in a blender. Oh, Link's Awakening remake, of course. And you get this game that is right in all the right ways. It's just got that one weird little quirk to it where it's kind of weird that you have to scroll through so many echoes sometimes, not always, but sometimes depending on where they are in your order. So yeah, I don't know, I'm loving it and I love this world. I think if you like puzzle solving, this is the Zelda for you, and if you liked the Link's Awakening remake, that world, if you just loved like looking at the diorama art style, this is definitely for you because it just gives you so many more places to admire and just look and be like, oh my god, that water is gorgeous, or just go and be like, oh, that's a neat looking little tree, like just things like that. I've found myself doing over and over again.
Yeah, I've been splashing water a lot, just admiring how good the water looks in this game. And I know it's something that people always point to when they talk about good graphics, like, oh, look how good the water looks. But yeah,
Yeah,
it's
this
just
isn't even from like a
overall.
realism point of view, though. This is just from a
Yeah,
comfort point of view. It's like,
yeah,
oh my, that makes me, it gives me satisfaction to swim in that water.
right, right. So yeah, those are my takes. I know you commented on the order of the games. What do you think about that?
Oh yeah, I said that I think that it would have been a little bit better to release this before Tears of the Kingdom. That was more on how long we waited for Tears of the Kingdom than about anything else. You know what I mean? Like I just like, it was so long between Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom, and we had one Link's Awakening remake in the middle. And there were the spin-off games too. I don't remember where they fell timeline wise, like the Hyrule Warriors games. But yeah, I feel like in the long wait between Breath of the Wild and Link, sorry, Tears of the Kingdom, I would have loved to have had this in the middle just to I don't know, make it feel like I wasn't waiting so long for a new Zelda game, a new Zelda experience.
Yeah, I'm not sure only because I would need to look to the future to know what the legacy of this game is going to be. Is this game going to be re-released on a new system with any kind of upgrades? And what
Yeah, that's a
Zelda
good
game is
point. Because I feel like it
yeah,
runs the danger of just being like, oh, that was at the end of the Switch, and like games at the end of cycles get overlooked a lot.
yeah. It doesn't feel like this game is getting overlooked. Haven't seen too much on sales numbers, but I'm just very interested in knowing like what Zelda game is Nintendo developing right now? Because of course, like they're always working on a Zelda game, but I mean, I think that this game is going to be used to create as a basis to create another game. I don't know if that's the next one because I mean we could be going back to like bigger open world, more it feels more like a first party. But I think this game is going to be used along with Link's Awakening remake to make Link Between Worlds or just an entirely new game altogether. What I'm trying to say is I don't think this is the last time we see these mechanics because I think they took a lot of risks with this game to try to be innovative. I think a lot of it worked. And I think the performance is going to be even better on a new system. Performance for me has been fine, but it is kind of clear that it's not even all the time. Uh, gameplay has been fine for me. I'm not picky at all, but I can tell that it's just a feeling of, yeah, new hardware might help a game like this. That's all.
Yeah, for sure. Um,
So have a great time with it.
yeah, me too. Me too. Um, so yeah, let's talk about this Rolling Stone list while we're on the subject of Zelda. Um, it's I feel like they do these types of things a lot where they make lists intentionally bad so people will talk about them on social media. Does that make sense?
Y- Yeah, yes, but I'm confused. I'm confused at the landscape of video game journalism in music magazines that are not that relevant anymore. I'm just like I admire it. I wish I was a video game journalist for Rolling Stone magazine, but this to me seemed like more like this is one person's opinion, and everyone at Rolling Stone was like, okay, like
Well, I
like
mean, the first two things that jumped out. Let me read the list. They ranked 19 the 19 like basically main release Zelda games, and I'll read the list really quick and then talk about some things that stand out. So, it goes from 19 down to 1. Last place, we could say, it's Triforce Heroes, then Four Swords Adventures, Spirit Tracks, Phantom Hourglass, Skyward Sword, Minish Cap, Zelda 2 Adventure of Link, A Link Between Worlds, Oracle of Ages, Oracle of Seasons, Twilight Princess, Echoes of Wisdom, Legend of Zelda, Majora's Mask, Link's Awakening, Ocarina of Time, A Link to the Past, Wind Waker, Breath of the Wild, and Tears of the Kingdom at number 1. The first two things that really jumped out to me is A Link Between Worlds and especially Minish Cap at number 14 on this list are way, way,
mhm.
way too low. Like,
Yeah, that was the
really putting
first.
Minish
That's
Cap
me.
below Adventure a Link? Are you crazy?
Yeah, yeah. This list sounds like a preference. Like I don't know if it's like for rage bait, but to me this list seems like someone who is like my age. I mean, maybe about 30 years old who maybe didn't originally have like the older games when they first came out, but then got into Zelda maybe later, like a little bit more later on.
Hmm.
This to me looks like a new Zelda fan list, which is kind of which is what I am. Like I consider myself to be a new Zelda fan because I mostly became a fan in this generation, and then I went back and played a lot of games. But I
Yeah, I
agree.
also, while I
Go ahead.
said two games that were ranked way too low on this list, this might be controversial, but at number 8, I think the original Legend of Zelda is a little high. Like, that's a game people have been saying a lot lately has not aged well. I mean, I obviously, as a Zelda fan, can still appreciate it and play it, but I kind of agree that it's like putting a just like bland uh, you know, a bland recipe in the top 10 when you've got all these other recipes that added extra spices and extra interesting flavors to the mix. So, it's the bare bones Zelda. It shouldn't be that high. It definitely doesn't need to be like super low on the list, but again, I think ranking it above something like Twilight Princess or even Oracle of Ages, Oracle of Seasons, I don't know so much about. If A Link Between Worlds too, where I said that game's too low. Come on, I get that it started the franchise, but it's so bare bones, I'll go with the obvious thing that I think a lot of people are thinking. I don't know if Tears of the Kingdom and Breath of the Wild should be number 1 and 2. They're not good representations of the franchise. They're kind of their own separate thing. Um, Tears of the Kingdom, especially being at number 1, I talked in my review episode that I did about how I actually think Breath of the Wild is just slightly better by a little bit. They're pretty even, but I think Breath of the Wild was a little more focused, and Tears of the Kingdom didn't feel like a new experience. It felt more like a continued experience. So, Um, yeah, I don't think Tears of the Kingdom is the number one Zelda game of all time. I know that there are people out there who do, so I'm not going to try to disparage them too much, but yeah, I don't like that it basically gives the Breath of the Wild series the one and number two spot. I don't think that's good.
Well, you've made two interesting criticisms that kind of go together. Because I would agree with, and I would agree with both of them. Original Zelda is too high, and I I think forever I will say that it has not aged well. I I respect it a lot as a game. But I think it does get benefit of a doubt for being the original Zelda game. But you say that Tears of the Kingdom is too high because it's not a good representation of a traditional Zelda game, which to me is the original Zelda. So I think both of these criticisms kind of go together. Is what I'm trying to say. Overall,
Yeah.
overall I agree. Like I think the only reason why the original Zelda gets ranked that high is because it is such an important game. Such an important game. And of course, like when I look on Twitter, of course, where we found this list, where everyone's talking about it, everyone's talking about Ocarina of Time. Guys,
Hmm.
like I like that game too. There's more Zelda games out there.
Well,
Like, can
here's my
we
thing on Ocarina of
go ahead?
Time. I've played that game through so many times. Like, I'm not even kidding. I might have 100% of that game over 20 times, 25 times, a lot. Because there was a period in my life where all I did was play like the same three franchises on repeat. So, um, I've gotten to a point where I can sign. It's almost like the Matrix in reverse, where instead of seeing the image, I'm seeing the code. Like I'm seeing the game for what it is because I've played it so many times, and yeah, it's great. It's fantastic. I know I was there when it came out. I know how groundbreaking it was at the time. But when you separate the nostalgia from it, even Twilight Princess is basically an updated Ocarina of Time. So why don't people have so much enthusiasm for that game? Or like I don't know. To me, it's definitely an acceptable answer for your favorite Zelda game. To me, like I think A Link to the Past, Ocarina of Time, Wind Waker, these are good opinions to have at the top of your list. But I agree with you. I think we need to move past Ocarina of Time unless they do some sort of ground up remake like they did with the Final Fantasy VII Rebirth and remake games where it's basically a completely new game. Um Unless they did something like that for it, it's served its purpose. It's there. It's great to remember how groundbreaking it was at the time, but all of the things it does, you can get from other games.
All right. So I mean, and when I say everyone, I mean people on Twitter. People on Twitter complaining that number five is too low. I think it's perfect because I mean, it would be like it would definitely be in my top half of favorite Zelda games. There's a few on this list I haven't played. A few like 3DS games I haven't played. Um, but
Yeah, I think we've talked about this before. My personal list
yeah,
is I would have A Link to the Past at number one, followed by Wind Waker, followed by Minish Cap, which is why I think it's way too low. I think I'm forgetting something here. I've done this on the podcast before, but I would rank Majora's Mask above Ocarina of Time. I would rank Link's Awakening maybe in the top five there. I feel like I'm forgetting something key here. Uh oh no, I would put Breath of the Wild. That's what I'm forgetting. I would put Breath of the Wild, I think, at number five. I think Ocarina of Time is actually my number six, if I had to think about it um a lot. I don't know. It's also one of those
yeah.
things where it's different every day.
I would agree with all of those. It's my top half, but it's not in my top five because Breath of the Wild is my favorite. I enjoyed Wind Waker so much this year. Link to the Past is great. Link's Awakening is maybe my third favorite or fourth favorite game. Like Link's Awakening is great.
Mhm.
Um, and yeah, it is kind of tough. So I'm with you. I think Adventure. Oh, I can't comment on Adventure of Link, but I think Minish Cap at 14 is way too low. And yeah, Kevin, I think people on the internet disagree with you about Skyward Sword. A lot of people are saying that Skyward Sword is ranked too low at 15.
Well,
Um,
you know what? It's if they can get a Skyward Sword's like one of those things where it's really weird because if you can if you don't mind the motion controls, it's a great game. The motion controls, that one element, just completely ruin it for me. And I don't know if I'd rank it all the way down at 14, but it's definitely not in my top 10 for sure. Um, and the only criticism I have of this list is Spirit Tracks is better than Phantom Hourglass, and I feel like that's a universal opinion. So I don't know what Spirit Tracks is doing below Phantom Hourglass. They took Spirit Tracks is a game where they literally took every single criticism people had of Phantom Hourglass and they said, "Okay, we'll fix it." And then they fixed it. And I thought that was like a universal opinion of that game. So I don't know why that's ranked one lower.
I honestly think that this list was made by one person. I mean,
Yeah.
it's written by one
One
person,
person who
but
hasn't played Spirit Tracks since it released.
well, yeah, that would be me being optimistic. I'm kind of afraid that perhaps this person perhaps they've played every game, but maybe it's been a while, or maybe they've only played it one time, or because it would be hard for me to believe that somebody wrote this article, sent it into the Rolling Stone editors, and the Rolling Stone editors were huge Zelda fans that could actually give input on the validity of this list. This is one person's opinion, but last thing for me, I haven't I haven't really played these last four games on the list. You've already commented on Phantom Hourglass and Spirit Tracks. Is there anything wrong with these last four? And I'll say it again: 16, Phantom Hourglass; 17, Spirit Tracks; 18, Four Swords Adventures; 19, Triforce Heroes. Do you have a problem with any of that?
No, I mean that's to each their own, but it's it's weird. I really think Rolling Stone makes these lists more thinking about what order would make better talking points than what order is the actual best order.
Yeah. Engagement's important, and I'm sure. And no offense to Rolling Stone, but I'm sure they need as much engagement as possible in this landscape because I mean I haven't heard I used to be a subscriber of Rolling Stone. I haven't thought about them in a really long time. But hey, I mean they gave Wind Waker some love. Like to see that. Um, Gave Breath of the Wild, Link to the Past some love. That's great too. If you make money talking about video games on a rock and roll magazine, I think that's awesome.
Yeah, definitely. um so there's not a lot of news to talk about this week, but one
Right?
item that I thought was pretty cool is we've got two FZero games coming to Switch Online next week. FZero Climax and FZero Legend are coming to Switch Online, both Game Boy Advance games, which means we are only missing the GameCube installment FZero GX to have every FZero game on the Switch. So
It's coming. It's I am convinced now more than ever that we are getting an FZero game.
Well, there's the rumored remake that people have been rumoring for about a year now, maybe a little more. But yeah, the a lot of prominent leakers who have been accurate in the past have reported multiple times that they're working on a remaster or remake or whatever you want to call it of F-Zero GX. So I'm inclined to believe them based on the fact that Nintendo seems to every about 6 weeks now seem to say, "Hey, remember F-Zero?" So it seems like that's what they're doing is they're trying to raise brand awareness before releasing something that will actually cost money.
Right, right. And I think they're updating F-Zero 99 with new tracks as well. These games come out. Did you write the date down? I think it's the 11th.
No,
It's
I
next
just
week.
yeah, next week at some point.
Next week, guys. Next week, guys. Look, listeners, look it up. Look it up. We don't know. It's next week. I think it's the 11th.
Not going to be in the
And
randomizer this week because we possibly won't be able to play them.
right, right. F-Zero Climax, it was Japanese only up until this point, and the big selling point I think for that game is the track editor, which I was watching videos of it last night. It's pretty massive. Like I think you can choose between 8 different track backgrounds, and then they use a grid system. So
That's
I'm
crazy
very
for
interested
yeah,
in.
I saw it too. It's crazy for a Game Boy Advance game. They're coming out on the 11th, by the way. I just checked.
Yeah. So I'm very interested in going in and trying to make like the curviest, craziest track, possible. And I put in here is that Nintendo should really consider taking games like this and being able to share your ideas online. I
Mhm.
know logistically that's probably more than they want to do, but it would be awesome if we could create tracks and then we had an option to like search through tracks that other people make, much like just like a Mario Maker. Why not an F-Zero Maker? Like why not? Uh, so that's what I would love to see. I will be checking this out when it comes.
And without any sort of transition possible, it's
Speaking of
time to talk
snakes, I don't know.
it's time to talk about our spotlight game, the NES Snake, Rattle and Roll. Um arcade style NES game. Did you have time to play with this week?
Yeah, I did a little bit. I think I'm pretty bad at this game.
Me
So
too.
that was
Me
my opinion.
too. I was using save states just so I could see the later levels. It's a kind of a middle of the library as far as release dates go. It came out in July of 1990, so towards the end of the
Towards the end,
NES, but
yeah.
they still had years left in them before the Super Nintendo came out. Um, Super Nintendo came out in 92, right? I think so.
Yeah, I believe so. And this game stands out because it's isometric.
Oh no.
It's
It came out in 1990 in Japan. I always misremember that because it came out in 91 in North America. It came out in 92 in some parts of the world. Oh wow, it came out in 94 in Russia? Wow, they got it late. But yeah. So I always misremember that. So yeah, the Super Nintendo did come out in Japan the same year as this game.
uh, um,
Sorry, I derailed
what
us
was I
with that.
talking? What was Yeah, what were we talking about? And okay, so this is the earliest rare title we've done by far. So
Yeah.
1990 for this game, Killer Instinct 95, Jet Force Gemini 99, and I think that's all the rare titles we've done so far. Uh, y- yeah, I this game stands out because it is an isometric game, so it's attempting to do some sort of 3D model on an NES system. So I give it credit there. I went back and read a lot of initial like magazine reviews. A lot of them give credit to this game for being innovative and for graphically looking very nice. I thought this game didn't look that nice for the time that it came out, but I think I'm just wrong on this. I think I'm too much in the mind of 3D games, and I have to force myself into thinking like, okay, this is before 3D. It's before 3D. So when people look at this game first, they're looking at it and thinking like, wow, like they attempted a 3D game.
Yeah, that was
So
actually one of my
maybe
notes.
that's
I
wrong.
try to write mine without reading yours, so I'm not like influenced. And so it's funny that we had like contradictory notes. I wrote that it was a decent attempt at a 3D environment on the NES, and that there were games late into the Super Nintendo that couldn't replicate 3D environments as well as this does. So that was where I was at when I was playing it.
Have you played any other isometric games? Like Marble Madness is the only one I could think of that's similar to this. And I don't know if I've played Marble Madness on NES, but any other
It's been a
games
while.
that
I
you
used to
remember?
Marble Madness was one of those games I grew up with, but I've never returned to. So I definitely played it back in the early 90s. Um, but yeah, there there are a few of these isometric games. I tend to stay away from them though because the D-pad controls and I wasn't good at this one either. Like I said at the top here, it's very fast, this game, which is one thing that kind of made me bad at it. You know what I mean? Like the
Mhm.
characters move really fast, and I'll bet there's some crazy speed runs on this game if you got it down to a science because it zips along.
This game reminded me of like games that streamers play now because people enjoy watching pain. They enjoy watching people suffer, get
Hmm.
frustrated with things. Because I was going back and I was watching like a angry video game nerd or like just like old reviews of this game, and there's so much swearing that goes on when people are playing it. It's just there's so many four-letter words. It's very funny because it is like a frustrating, like the controls feel slick. I know I'm bad at this game, but they feel slick. And there's times where you have to like jump up and then you have to jump up, left, and then back. Like it's or you have to like jump onto like a single block, which is something they did in NES games all the time. Like you have to be like very coordinated to do it. So, is there a following for this game? Like, there is only one sequel to this game, but is there a cult following for it?
I don't know, not that I've ever seen.
I'm I'm sure there is. Uh yeah, music is very repetitive. I know they were trying to do shake, rattle, and roll, like a bluesy, boogie woogie type of game, like type of music. But to me, it got very annoying after a while. I know that they're very limited on the NES hardware, but with that being said, the music was made by what's his name? Um, the guy who made all of the Donkey Kong music.
Oh, I mean, I don't know, but I'm not very
I,
familiar with those, but yeah.
I have my notes. David Wise. David Wise. There we go. Um, David Wise made the soundtrack for this game. I think it's pretty obvious that the influence was Shake, Rattle, and Roll, but it didn't work for me, is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, this game, it makes me think of those games that you would see like two generations later on systems like Atari Jaguar and like the 3DO, where it seemed like they were stuck in this arcade era of thinking, and those other companies hadn't really wrapped their heads around what a console video game was, you know? And it's in that mindset of like 90s extreme weird for the sake of weird. Like, hey, we're gonna have one enemy that's a severed foot, and it's gonna be surreal. And if you when you fall in the water, it's gonna play the Jaws theme every time. Like or something that sounds like it. I know it's not exactly it, but I don't know. It reminded me of those games. There's one that you brought up, Angry Video Game Nerd. There's one that he did that I can't remember the name of it. I think it was an Atari Jaguar game that was as nonsensical as this one. The one with the penguins and the doom scale. You know what I'm talking about?
That sounds so familiar. I'm pretty sure I've seen this video. But yeah,
Yeah,
keep talking.
it's one of the. It reminded me a lot of those type of games, which came much later. I'm looking that up right now. I'm not gonna find it.
Attack of the Mutant Penguins is the name of it.
Ah, there you go.
That's right.
Yes. So
I yeah.
look up
I
Attack of the Mutant Penguins if you want to know what I'm talking about. That's what this game would be if it were released 2 generations later.
God, the Atari Jaguar is so weird. Okay. I digress. Yeah, I don't know if I enjoyed this game. I shouldn't
Yeah.
say that.
No, I ranked it pretty
I
low. I ranked this at an even 80. Which we've done. I've got 93 games on my list, so it's pretty much towards the bottom. I put it below Echo the Dolphin, and I put it above Comic Zone. Because again, I've given up on ever being able to play Comic Zone. It's too difficult. It's great game for some people, not for me. And so I felt like I was a little bit more able to play this than I was able to play Comic Zone. So it's at number 80.
Who would you recommend this game to while I try to find my list?
I don't know if I'd recommend this game to anybody.
Okay.
And I gotta say, Snake's Revenge was a confusing follow-up. I'd rather I'd rather play Snake on a Nokia phone than play this game.
Sure.
But yeah, no, I'd recommend it to if you like, I guess if you like isometric 3D games like Marble Madness and Qbert was another one. Um, if you like those type of isometric 3D arcade style games, which is very specific person, then this is the game for you. If not, I'd say there are, 50 to 100 NES games that I'd recommend you play before this one if you're looking for an NES game.
I put it at 48, which is below Earthworm Jim, above sort of Vermilion, above Amazing Hebereki, which we've played recently. I thought it would be above that. It's kind of in the middle. It's like yeah, I would agree that I wouldn't recommend the game, and at the same time, I think it should be on the online service. But perhaps perhaps we're getting to a point where I'm saying that like if the NES game exists, it should be on the service. I don't know. It's not taking up space, and it is unique the fact that it came out so late in the NES cycle and that it is a genre that's pretty specific. I guess if you want to frustrate yourself, you could try this game. Or if you want to prove me wrong, because everyone online is saying like this game is fine, you're just bad at it. That's the feedback that I've been getting the past couple of days. So, uh, yeah. What are we playing next?
That is a decent question. Let me click the randomizer here. All right, so remember I said I went through and I paired a bunch of games together so we can make some progress on the giant library we have in front of us. So This is one of those examples. We've got two beat 'em ups here on the Super Nintendo paired together. We've got Rival Turf and Tough Enough. So we will compare and contrast these two beat 'em ups for next week.
Okay, and that is what system?
Super Nintendo.
Super Nintendo. Okay, okay. That's why I don't know it. Okay, all right. Sounds like, is
So
it a football game?
Rival Turf? No, they're both beat 'em ups. Was I breaking up there? Sorry, I saw my internet
No, no, no,
connection
no, no, no,
flicker.
no, no. I could hear, no, I could hear you, but Rival Turf just sounds like it's like a football beat 'em up game.
No, I think I paired these together because they had similar art styles or something. There was a reason for all the pairings. I just can't remember what off the top of my head. So yeah, I'm looking at it right now. It's just a typical side scroller beat 'em up, throw the punches type of game.
Leather jackets and everything. Okay, I
Yeah.
see it now. But a football beat 'em up could be fun. I just like somebody should make that. Okay, cool, cool. Games I don't know. That's why we're here.
Yeah, and I mean, I could have gone nuts and linked like there's like 4 or 5 of these left on the service for just Super Nintendo alone, but I think I paired them two and two for the most part, or one and
Yeah,
one,
there's
I should
tons.
say. Um,
Yeah, yeah. There's tons.
so yeah, listen to it'll be like a versus next week. We can do Rival Turf versus Tough Enough. Which do we like more? And if you care about either of those games, be sure to listen to us next week. Keep in mind we're Nintendo fans, not Nintendo experts, so we probably will get stuff wrong. You can correct us at nintendotherapypod@gmail.com and find our Reddit, our subreddit, Nintendo Therapy. We're on there. And yeah, until then, we will see you back here next week for more Nintendo therapy. See you then.